The Tales games are some of my favorites for a multitude of reasons that I can't shut up about for the life of me. But one of, if not the most well-known reason for the series being so good is its gameplay. A real-time skill-based action RPG. It's so hype. And one of the best parts, you're not just limited to playing as the main character. Every single party member is controllable with their own playstyles and gimmicks on top of similar controls. It's kind of like Smash Bros, just with a lot more anime. Just with a lot less anime. Today I'll be counting down the 10 characters I loved playing as the most. Now, one big thing to keep in mind is that this list is solely based on gameplay, as the characters will be saved for a future bigger list. There are way too many great ones to be limited to a top 10, you know? On top of that, I won't be including protagonists, as let's not fool ourselves, they take up the bulk of this list, and I want as much variety and unpredictability as possible. Top 10 Playable Tales protagonists will come at a later date. With variety in mind, only 2 characters max per entry so that we don't have a list full of characters from Grace's app. But that doesn't mean that a game has to have a representative on this list. If I feel like the game didn't have any character that stood out enough in the grand scheme of the series, I don't have to include it, simple as that. And finally, for the main criteria in this list, it's all about how much fun I have playing as them in the respective game, overall control, mystic art, so on and so forth. It's kinda self-explanatory. So let's stop explaining and jump right into it. These are my top 10 Playable Tales characters. In my opinion. Please don't hurt me, I love this series, but I'm not spitting out facts for darn certain. Kicking off this list, we have a pretty cool guy, and arguably he's even more fun to play as than the freaking protagonist of the game. Why? Well, simply put, he's way faster and more fun to play in both movement speed and attacks. Seriously, look at the footage I'm showing you and look at him go! He's such a fun guy to zoom around and mow enemies down. That being said, he does suffer a bit from being in the freaking ocean of sword users this series has, and while many of them differentiate themselves from one another, Guy is a bit basic in that regard. You have your demon fangs and whatnot, but other than his speed, what does he have of significance? I'd say this is more of an issue on Abyss's combat system, but it affects his character, therefore it can't be helped but be held against the poor guy. Regardless, I still have so much fun playing as this guy, earning him a spot on my list. What a guy. Such a cool guy. A one-of-a-kind guy. Alright, let's move on, guys. Zesteria's combat isn't as limited as Abyss so much as it's janky, but it still had some really fun party members. Ironically enough though, the one who's my favorite personality-wise is also my favorite gameplay-wise. I am, of course, talking about Edna. First things first, she wields an umbrella. We could end the segment right there, but I suppose I'll elaborate a bit more. She's a bit slower with her attacks, but still holds a lot of combo potential, much like many characters in this party. But on top of that, she's a spellcaster. The recent Tales games do something cool with those, being that the more you spellcast one art after another, the shorter the wait time is for the attack to go off, meaning spell combos in a whole new way. It's really cool to pull off a high tier spell in half the normal time, while even being able to hold your own in hand-to umbrella combat. Not to mention being the crap out of Hellions with a tiny blonde-haired chick who doesn't give a crap about what you think is way more hype than it has any right to be. If there's one thing I love about this game's combat system, it's Edna. If there's one thing I love about this game in general, it's Edna, but hey, combat works too. Speaking of blonde-haired chicks, although I guess Elise is more of a white-haired chick, platinum blonde, whatever the case, it looks just as good as she plays. Healers are an interesting class, and when done right, they make for some of the best playable characters, with Elise being one of them. Of course, she's got the best healing spells in the game, which is always a plus, but she also has dark spells. That's so cool, not to mention helps her stand out amongst all the other healers who use light spells. Not only is she casting Nurse, but also Negative Gate, and that's pretty freaking cool. But what sold her for me was her fighting style. Elise uses Tipo in combat, and you can either wear him as a backpack for Orbs of Light or use my preferred method, controlling and swinging him round and round for almost Puppet Master gameplay. Of course, not as mechanically involved as an actual Puppet Master in a fighting game or something, but it looks dope and gives out damage at a higher and faster rate. She's got the speed, she's got the heals, she's got the cute looks, but most importantly,
she'll murder you in cold blood.
Elise is way more fun than she has any right to be, and is a shining representation of why the Xillias have such great combat systems. Plus, she has the best mystic art in the game, and that's kind of a big deal with the game's selection of just that. What's that? One more proof that Xillia has one of the best combat systems? Well, here you go! Leia also has the heals and she's got the speed, but she's way more of a fighter than a supportive spellcaster, even if she has the options to do just that role. But in terms of her main strats, I've never had more fun playing as a staff wielder. She pretty much acts as the game's Dragoon, which this series doesn't have much of. Even still, she's incredibly fast on the ground and more than capable, but getting aerial combos is the name of the game. Other than, well, Xillia, and a game her arts are very fond of. Not only is it much easier to stay in the air because of this game's clean combat system, but it also feels so good to keep it going. Not to mention she's the party's item caddy and gets a lot of skills to help with that. When you link with her, she steals. She can use them later without moving, and even later on, she doesn't have any item cooldown, which can almost snap the game in freaking half. So on top of being straight up fun to play, she also has a ton of practical uses, and yeah, she is without a doubt one of the most fun characters I played as in the series. And Soulstoke Celebration, so dang good. Over my first playthrough of Berseria, I found myself playing as Eleanor almost as much as Velvet, which is a bit of a surprise. Just goes to show how much fun I had playing as her though, we take those. Eleanor isn't too terribly creative of a playstyle. She acts as the game's secondary healer who fights with a couple of spells and mainly her lance. But man, is she so fun to control. Whether you're piercing through a single enemy or wide slashing a crowd of enemies, Eleanor's hits are so satisfying and I have no idea what it is. Maybe it's how Berseria's combat gives you that extra feedback upon hits, or how you gain loads of AC when landing direct hits, but it feels so good to let the minions know who's really dominating the situation. It's also fun using the game's soul bursts with her because they act as this really cool aerial combo that feels so right whenever you pull one off. Also, I don't think her Mystic Guards get enough credit. This is some Mega Man Volnut Tatsunoko vs Capcom stuff right here, and it's just as epic. Simple, yet satisfying. Eleanor is so fun to play, and I spent way too much time in my first playthrough doing just that. Don't regret it though, not even a little. PSA, stop sleeping on Musee. She's a character who's seen some of the most development in the series, she's hilarious, and she's also my 5th favorite playable character. Playing as a previous villain is cool in concept alone, as in Xillia 2 you get both Gaius and Musee in your party, arguably the first Xillia's main antagonist, which is so cool. And wouldn't you know it, one of them ended up as my favorite character to play as in both Xillia games. Now before you say it, technically Leia and Elise count as Xillia reps, while Musee is an Xillia 2 rep, meaning that while this bends the rules a bit, I'm still counting it. Don't get mad, get money. Anyway, Musee can cast some of the high tier elemental spells, has incredible aerial mobility like Mila, just even further if you ask me, and she can teleport right in the enemy's face as a quick step. I also love her weapon, which is literally her hair. If this is so fun, maybe I should get into the Bayonetta games, I don't know. It also brings me great pleasure to use the Mystic Art that gave me so much trouble in the first game against bosses and enemy encounters instead, which is just therapeutic. Actually, you can use all her art she had as a boss and more. After getting my butt kicked way more times than I'd like to admit, this is the best way to help me get over the one-on-one boss fight from Xillia 1, even though that boss is still trash. Playing as her is fun though, so I guess it's okay. For now though, just for now. I'll be honest, as a whole, mages are way more fun to play in the newer games than the older ones. Press a button and wait 10 seconds for the attack to come out? Give me a break and just let me hit things. This was my mindset for the longest time, but even still, I had so much fun playing as Rita. In a game where combos are what thrive the most, it's crazy how well they made her work. One of the best ways was giving her rhythm as soon as she joins the party. Don't feel like waiting for a spell to come out? Spam the attack button and she'll cast it faster. A cheap way to keep the player invested, but it works. And sure, her attack arts are lame as heck if you ask me, but why would you even bother when you can cast some of the coolest high tier spells in the series? And, of course,
Blah, blah, blah.
yeah, with this game's over limit system, you can spam the screen covering spells, and it's never been more satisfying to cheese a game. And if you weren't already wowed by your first Mystic Art, her second is Indignation, one of, if not the series staple as the most powerful attack possible. And it looks sick! And on top of all this, you're telling me she can combo spells later and fly? Best mage in the series, best mage in the series. Best healer though, Sharia without question. Kicking off the top 3 is the first of 2 Graces F characters I had to narrow it down to. I never in my life thought I'd have so much fun playing as a healer, yet here Sharia comes changing the game. Good thing too, because her character kinda sucks. Anyway, how's this for a healer? High tier light spells and the best heals in the game, sure, given, but her weapon of choice? Throwing knives. That's amazing. And with the series' best combat system, that means combos for days, chaining spells to cast them faster, high mobility, and of course, some of the coolest, flashiest, and stylish Mystic Arts to gaze upon. She's so cool. Who asked for this? Who do I have to hug? Everything fun about a mage and a healer and even a regular fighter all gathered together in order to make a phenomenal playable character in a game where not a single party member isn't a blast to play as. And she has the voice of Rise Kujikawa as she's murdering her opponents? What? Somebody pinch me! And And here's the second Grace's character. It was tough deciding between these final two, but Sophie just barely misses out on the top spot. Not to knock her or anything, I mean, she made it this far for a darn good reason. Even including the protagonist, Sophie is my character of choice in Grace's app. As the only character in the game I can say I actually love personality-wise, I felt obligated to master her, but I didn't expect to be rewarded so well. Sophie, much like everyone else in the game, is fast and fun to handle, and even has another set of dope as heck mystic arts. Thought playing as Edna was hype? Sophie looks even more like a little kid, which I know shouldn't matter too much, but come on. A 6-year-old looking kid who's beating the crap out of dragons and whatnot with her bare hands. That's gotta be worth something, and even if it's not, she's straight up the most fun character to play as in the game, with arguably the best selection of playable characters in the series. Just what could surpass that? Gambling. That's what. Patty's here, everyone. We can all relax now. With a bunch of different battle modes to switch on the fly and mid-combo during battles, she's got a lot going for her. Every mode changes how she attacks in both her standard strikes and even her arts. Not to mention, certain modes have unique skills to use, perks to activate, and so on. Of course, the best mode is critical, and if that were her only mode, she'd still be number one. But being required to think on the fly and change strategies depending on what you're given and what you change into all add to the fun. What you get is random every time, which goes hand in hand with her gambling mechanics. She can cast almost any spell in the game, but which one you pull off is random, with the most control you can give being whether it's an attack or a supportive spell. It's so fun to try your hand at the random shenanigans that'll ensue, some more than others. I love that shooting star attack, cooking up a storm, and the gem of them all, critical McFreakin' moment. An art where you literally summon a random effect that can either be the greatest thing ever or the worst. I'll be honest, I love gambling in video games, and a whole character surrounding just that is simply a win in my book. Combine all that with a great kit of arts and attacks, a mystic art that couldn't be more perfect for the character and gameplay style, and a lot to master, Patty takes the cake as my favorite non-protagonist to control. Grab a skewer, spin the wheel, and let's just see where the whims of fate may lead us. Hello viewer, thank you for watching my video, and special thank you if you're a patron for helping me make a little money and get a step closer to making this a job. All of them are the greatest people of all time, and I'm gonna thank them all right about now. Thank you so much to Ben, Cleric Eric, Comic Foil, Corbett, Floragrar, Forever Fizz 8, Gaius, Gentleman Gamer, Jacob Horner, James V, Kiara, Kippy7, Michael Douglas, Mitchie, Neolab, R2K, Soul, Shadow the Cat, Steve Appleman, Tex-Mex, and Xenolith. I love you all more than Patty loves screwing me over with RNG, and I love you, the viewer, for giving me a chance and watching my video the whole way through. It means a lot to me. Links are down in the description for other ways you can support my channel, including a link to my Patreon and interact with me, so I hope to see you all again real soon. I love you guys. Mwah. Bye-bye!